welcome into the newest episode of Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella. The Patriots are officially down to 53 members of their 2025 team. The practice squad has been announced, all 16 members, and it's come with a lot of surprising moves as the Patriots got down to the mark and looking at week one dead in the face. Before we get into everything, make sure you go down and subscribe for our channel. Get in the comments and let us know what you think about cut down day for the New England Patriots. Did they get it right when it came down to the final decisions? And are there a few extra moves coming the team's way? Also, make sure you give us a like if you like what you hear. Go back and check out all of our old episodes after this one so you're caught up to speed on everything New England Patriots before that week one matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. We start here today with indeed those strange moves, if you will, as Cole Strange gets the boot. The former first round pick and starter on the offensive line makes it absolutely zero players from the 2023 draft for your New England Patriots. And it has been a well-known fact for quite some time that the Patriots have not drafted well, especially since the 2020 season. And that's 5 years of poor drafts that have started to catch up to this team, and that's why you end up going 4-13 back-to-back seasons. You move on from the previous regime and its players. It's common practice, especially once you get to this point with a roster and a second new head coach in as many seasons. But the surprise moves didn't stop necessarily there. The fifth round pick from LSU, defensive end Braden Swinson, also cut. Strange was strange to be cut when he was a starter and could have been a valued backup, but again decided that it was time to move on from him, and he's already signed to the Cleveland Browns practice squad. Some other moves, some that we knew, some that we didn't, and the IR spots. Jelani Tavai put on the IR, designated to return. Hopefully, you can see him in week 5. Jalen Polk will get a mulligan for year 2 in the NFL, as he will be out for the season and hopefully be able to train and get back to his top form and shape by the time we run around to 2026. The two big surprises, though, however, were both Kyle Duggar and Anthony Jennings, players who were playing in the fourth quarter of meaningless preseason games, playing on the scout team, end up on the team. And it was reported that the Patriots had made several phone calls to other teams to see if they might be interested and got close to a deal, even with someone else, namely Kendrick Bourne with the Minnesota Vikings, apparently closing in on the deal. But the decision was made at the time yesterday, or I should say on Tuesday, that Kendrick Bourne, along with Javon Baker, made the initial 53-man roster, and that meant the Patriots had not 6, not 7, but 8 wide receivers on the roster. It did not last long, however, as both Bourne and Baker were released on Wednesday, and the Patriots are down to 6 wide receivers. Some interesting decisions on how that kind of played out, but I think the Patriots wanted to see kind of how the market shook out with other teams and their new free agents or cut players, and how that kind of broke in certain forms and fashion. But it gets down to the point where it is more of what you might think. And what it did was open up some opportunity for the roster. And with only 2 quarterbacks, it was Tommy Cutlets himself. Yes, the viral sensation at times over the past couple seasons. Tommy DeVito, the former Giants quarterback, is signed with your New England Patriots to the 53-man roster as the Pats pick up the Giants' former starter. And DeVito has acquitted himself well in the NFL. At just 27 years of age, was the undrafted free agent out of Illinois 2 years ago, and at 6'2", 210 pounds, has decent size for a starting NFL quarterback. Looking at the quarterback room, obviously Drake May is the, engine of this Patriots car, and they have Joshua Dobbs as a true backup and can do some things with his legs and be a great mentor for May. But I think if there were ever a situation where May was going to be out for an extended period of time, and extended as in half a season or something of that nature, you may want to try and develop somebody, and DeVito kind of fits that mold of a true good third quarterback. In 8 starts, he's 145 at 222, so just over 60 4% of his passes completed. He's got 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. So, again, never did anything to really lose the job for himself. And the Giants went out and added, getting Russell Wilson, drafting Jackson Dart, getting Jameis Winston. There just was too full of a QB room. So, I think an unheralded move by the Patriots. I think it gets some headlines because it is a quarterback. But we'll be interested to see kind of how things pan out and how long the Pats decide to actually carry three quarterbacks on their roster. I think they can get away with it for the first 4 weeks or so. See what the backup quarterback battle between DeVito and Dobbs starts to look like. And don't be surprised by the time if they get to week 5 when you're bringing players back off the IR if either Dobbs or DeVito is given their walking papers because they will need excuse me, that roster spot at the end of the day. Also, looking at where or the players that they could join on the practice squad if Dobbs or DeVito were to get cut. 16 players have been announced for that Patriots backup squad. Some guys that were very close to making the roster. Miles Battle at cornerback position could have been one, along with Brandon Crosserly. Mekhi Butler will help back up the offensive line. Jack Conley, the local product out of Boston College, gave a good run to make the team, but comes up just short, but stays with the Patriots. 2 tight ends, and CJ Dipray and G. Scott will stay on there as well. John Lyles, the wide receiver, along with Jeremiah Webb, 2 guys that, again, were in a very full room at the wide receiver spot, but stays on. 2 valued edge positions in Truman Jones, the Harvard product, who actually started the first preseason game, along with Braden Swinson, that 5th rounder, actually passes through waivers, so the Patriots to get to keep holding on to his rights. And again, if there's an injury, don't be surprised if he is one of those, either him or Truman Jones, ones to kind of make their way back up to the full-time roster. At the center position, Alec Lindstrom, who'd look good in reserve action, stays on. The 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant, defensive back out of Memphis, Kobe Minor, had a late push to make this roster, but comes up just short. The international pathway player in David Olajiaga. Cam Riley at the linebacker position, Javari Ritzy, the undrafted free agent out of UNC, and in that defensive tackle rotation, rounds out the practice squad for the Patriots. So again, several players on this squad that looked like they could challenge for roster spots, but with the Patriots having fairly good health throughout this preseason, were able to kind of keep their perfect roster, if you will, intact, and wanting to keep those guys that have seen what the type of program Mike Vrabel is creating, keep them in the fold and keep it moving. So the Patriots now know that they have several guys that can step up when they need them. They know the system. But again, as Vrabel has said, as Elliot Wolf has said, they are constantly going to look to improve this roster. So don't be surprised to see further roster transactions both through the 53-man and the practice squad. Finally, we take a look at the UDFAs and those trends that's gone with it. The Patriots now have made it 22 of 23 years with at least one undrafted free agent making the team, which is really impressive. Since the turn of the millennia here, if you will, just a couple years after, going so long. And I think it was 22 years, 23 years that they made it with at least one before, in Bill Belichick's last year, 2023, decided that one just wasn't going to hack it. So again, it's good to see the Patriots kind of get back to what they've seen, finding those, diamonds in the rough, if you will. Efton Chisholm making the roster as that 5th or 6th wide receiver, already getting the comparisons to players like Danny Amendola. Will have a ways to go to get himself on the field, but getting in the right spots, especially as a slot or a wide receiver in Josh McDaniels' offense. And then Elijah Ponder as well, someone that outside linebackers coach for the Patriots is absolutely raved about. Is been very impressed with what he's brought to the table, and was probably the main reason that Swinson, a fifth rounder, gets kicked down to the practice squad, cut essentially, moves on, passes through waivers, and it's Ponder that has shown what he can bring to the table, and that clearly is the pass rushing skills of a fifth rounder in the NFL. So, again, big congratulations to those guys for making the roster, and we will continue to have everything around the Patriots and let you know how this roster is going to shake out and what it's going to look like by the time week 1 against the Raiders rolls around. That'll do it for us here on this episode of Pat's Latest. Again, make sure you get down, subscribe for the channel, get in the comments, and let us know what you think about the roster decisions the Patriots made. What do they get right? What do they get wrong? And what do they need to do to get better right now? Also, give us that like. Go back and check out all of our old episodes so you know what's going on with your Pats as we continue to have everything in New England right here for you on Pat's Latest. Fight on, Foxborough.